I had the same thing either. You don't like that?
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to our second session for our virtual info night for Mother Teresa Catholic Elementary School. Thank you for joining us. Typically, we do this event in person at the school's gym. We promise you we'll deliver you all the same information that we do in person, but we're just doing it a little differently as a result of COVID this year. Before we get into the logistics for the event, I wanted to introduce some of the members from our panel that you've already might have seen by watching the video link that I sent you. We have our principal, Adine Briggs, and then our campus minister, Deacon Jerry. And then we have Amy Kelly, who is a former board member. She's a parent of 2 alums who are now at Ursuline, and she's also an educator in the Sycamore School District. With that, I would like to start tonight's session as we start every day at Mother Teresa, which is with morning prayer. So Deacon Jerry, can you start us off with prayer?
Let's go. Sure.
Let's start with prayer.
Let's begin our prayer in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. With hope in our hearts, we celebrate a new beginning. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious. The Lord lift up his blessings upon you and give you peace. Lord, be with us as we move in new directions. May the sharing and caring of the school family be with us. In the excitement of new beginnings, guide and calm any anxiety or fears that may arise. We rejoice in new beginnings. Guide all of us this evening and keep us in your care. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Your Twitch. Thank you, Deacon Jerry. So just to go over some logistics for the evening, we have, if you scroll down with your mouse to the bottom of the screen, there's some tools you can use where you can put yourself on mute. So we're going to ask all participants to do that. The panelists will know, obviously, to unmute when they're trying to address you. And then we do have some pre-submitted questions that I'll answer first. And then if you have other questions that come to mind, you can use the chat feature, which also comes, is shown across the bottom of the screen. If you hit on the chat button, you can type in your question, and then I'll see that populate along the side of my screen, and that's how I will address those questions.
They can't hear us, only we can hear them.
Later in the event. So I think we still have one more that is still unmuted. If we could have everyone muted.
What? I wonder if that's me.
And then one of the pre-submitted questions that I will address at this time is the fact that some other Catholic schools have weekly Catholic Mass, and Mother Teresa had traditionally had Mass only every other week. So they were wondering if we were considering offering Mass on a weekly basis.
Why this is so pretty?
I think the person who is on their phone, please put themselves on mute. I don't know who it is, but on my screen it just says phone. There we go. Okay, I think everybody's on mute now. So I will restate the pre-submitted question. It was about whether or not Mother Teresa would consider offering weekly Mass. Traditionally, we had done Mass every other week. And actually, as a result of COVID this year, and us being able to only have one grade level at a time in the student center for Mass instead of the whole student body, which we traditionally would like to do, we did offer Mass, or have been offering Mass once a week. and one grade level proceeds to the student center where we have our mass, and then the other classrooms are streaming the mass into their classroom. Because of that, we have been able to secure priests to celebrate with us every week, and it hasn't been too much of a problem getting them on our schedule. In the past, we had mass every other week because we had trouble filling that schedule. If this continues to go as smoothly as it has been, we will definitely strongly consider offering the mass every week next year, because we do find that it's been good for the kids. The faculty's been very happy with it. The next question that we have is two-part. The first one is, what is our admission policy for children who have not been baptized? So to answer that part first, Mother Teresa, while it is a Catholic school, you do not have to be Catholic to attend the school. So this year, we have about 15% of our families who are not Catholic. And on our admissions policy, which is highlighted on our website, and I could also email that to you if you wanted to see that in print, it highlights the order of the order we receive applications and the priority that we place on each of those. And the only difference is if there were to be one spot left, the Catholic families are admitted prior to the non-Catholic families. So we have not had a problem in the past where we've turned away anyone ever since we've built our expansion. We have many more openings in the school, and might have a wait list on 1 or 2 grade levels, but typically that has nothing to do with whether or not the student's been baptized. It was just families enrolling by the enrollment deadline get priority to those who come in a little later in the year. So it definitely will not be a problem. Being that your child has not been baptized, they will attend mass with the entire student body, and they will have daily religion class. Typically, the students who have not received the sacrament of Eucharist will process up with their class in line to receive, but they will cross their hands over their chests and receive a blessing so that they feel as though they're participating and not feeling left out. And then the second part of that guest's question was, what high school do the majority of our kids feed into? And we do have several in the area. So if children choose to go on to a co-ed high school, they primarily go to Fenwick, north of us in Middletown, or Baden, which is in Hamilton. The boys looking for an all-male school typically go to St. X or Moeller. And then for the girls, the majority of them go to Mount Notre Dame or Ursuline. We've had a few in the past go to St. Ursula, but that hasn't been quite as popular because that's a bit more of a drive from our area, being that it's closer to Hyde Park. So with that, I would like to open up the panel to any questions that those who currently are on the call have. If you want to start submitting questions through the chat, I'll take notes and then try to get to all of them. If I do not get to them, my email was contained in the slides that we hopefully you viewed before this session, and you can email me or call the school. We have 2 excellent office managers who are typically the ones who answer the phones, and they know answers to just about anything. So anyone who should answer would probably have an answer for your question. The first question that's been submitted is, admission is based on the criteria and not related to time application is received, correct? So the way that works is when we open the application window, which this coming application enrollment period will start on January 31st and then go through February 26th. Everyone who applies in that window is considered our pool of applicants. And then within that pool of applicants, there's an admissions priority, which I can review quickly here. Let me just get my notes so that I can make sure I accurately. So obviously first we would admit siblings to our current students, and then anyone who had who is a family member of a current board of trustee or a faculty or staff member, they would be given second highest priority. Then we have those, if any, who have been on the waiting list and have chosen to stay on the waiting list for this next enrollment period. Then we have new students who are Catholic and active in their Catholic parish, and then new students who are not Catholic but meet the active volunteerism requirement. So on the application, we'll ask, where do you volunteer? It can be anywhere. Volunteerism is an important part of Mother Teresa. We feel that it has created community amongst our families, and that the parents who are active in their children's education find that it's just been a better experience for the whole family. So we have a variety of volunteerism activities, day, night, weekends, weeknights, in your home, at the school. And we like to see if, when families are applying, if they have current volunteerism activities. And then anything after that, the remaining positions are filled by a lottery. And I don't recall us even having a lottery of the past year or two. Like I said, ever since the expansion, we haven't been in a position where we've had to turn away many families. The next question is, what does a typical day in kindergarten look like? And I'm going to toss that over to Aideen, since she works with the children a lot more than I do.
Okay, so kindergarten, if you haven't been in the building, each teacher has 2 classrooms. They have what's more of a traditional classroom with a smart board, usually a document reader, computer, and a telephone, and a sink in every classroom in the kindergarten wing. And then in the other room is their center room. And so typically the students come in, right now they wash their hands, get their temperature taken, and usually they'll begin with a little free choice time as different students come in different times. We always start every day with morning prayer though, and we end the day with morning prayer as well. Usually in the morning, they will have guided reading. And so our classes, kindergarten through 3rd grade, all participate in guided reading groups. And we have aides who help with the kindergarten classrooms too, who help to facilitate the guided reading groups. They also have, obviously, the rest of the curriculum. They divide it up. Really, as a kindergarten team, they work together in creating the curriculum. There are 4 kindergarten teachers, and they share materials. They do a lot of hands-on activities and projects. They have lunch and recess every day. They usually have at least 1 special every day. Their specials are music, library, technology, PE twice a week, and what am I missing? Art.
And they have Spanish.
Oh, it's Spanish. Then the Spanish teacher comes to their classroom in kindergarten. Again, that's once a week. So the other specials are once a week. PE is twice a week. This year, at least, they're having a little morning recess, because that way they get access to the playground facilities, and there's enough time in between for other classes to use that afterwards. But kindergarten is a little more flexible, so they're doing a little morning one, and then when they have another recess later in the day, they can only use the blacktop during that time. And we go back to their classrooms. Obviously, like I said, they do math activities, religion. Jerry's been teaching one of the kindergarten classrooms. Deacon Jerry has been going in and teaching religion in one of the kindergarten classrooms this year. So I think that's been a great experience for him, and definitely for our students. So we're excited about that. And then at the end of the day, we have prayer again. And then the kindergarten wing right now is really separated from everybody else, as though it's sort of like their own little school. And so then they line up along their 2 different lines each side of the hallway, and we escort them out to their cars for a car rider, or the teacher takes them out to the back door for to get their bus. So I'd say that's a pretty typical day. I think it's probably what you would expect. I think one of the big benefits, as I said, is all the specials that they have, and the guided reading groups. I think that's something that's very special and important at Mother Teresa. We also use intervention a lot. So we do a lot of RTI with kind of all of our students, but especially kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. So they don't need to be on a plan to get that extra help.
Thanks, Aideen. The kindergartners, like the rest of the student body, are all on the same start and end time. So at 7:45, everyone arrives, and typically in normal times, we gather for student body morning prayer in our student center. So when your child arrives, whether it be car ride or line or from the bus, they will go down to the student center and line up by homeroom and start their day with morning prayer. And then they'll proceed down to their homerooms once that's completed. And then the end of our day is about 2:20, and our principal typically, sometimes someone else will come on and say closing prayer and any afternoon announcements right before dismissal takes place. So our next question is for parent volunteers. Is there a background check done before they participate, and are background checks done on all staff at the school? So that's a yes for both of those. Every staff member is fingerprinted and there's a background check done. And all volunteers as well as staff have to participate in the Virtus program. And what that is that's an Archdiocesan mandated program where anyone who is volunteering with children, so even if, say, you're taking admissions at a sporting event, you're not necessarily working with the children as if you were helping the teacher in reading group, but there are children present because they're playing the sports. You have to participate in Virtus, and you attend a presentation that gives you an overview of the reason behind the child protection decree that the diocese has. And I think that presentation varies depending on the parish or facility that's offering it, but there's multiple locations in the area. And I've seen some that are like an hour and a half, some are 3 hours. And then after that, they will email you regular bulletins. I believe it's monthly because I receive them. And you read very up-to-date, timely information on several issues regarding keeping our children safe. And then there's just a brief, very simple 1-question quiz after you read that. And as long as you're reading your bulletins, you remain Virtus certified. And we have on staff a Virtus coordinator. She's part-time, and she maintains records on who is up to date or not up to date on the Virtus bulletins, because obviously anyone who is not up to date then is not permitted to volunteer with the children in the building. So we take that very seriously. Aideen, I don't know if there's anything else, or Jerry, that I need to add about Virtus.
I think it's probably important to know that the faculty and staff, like you said, do the regular licensure, FBI and BCI check that's required by the state. And then on top of that, we do the Virtus background check, where they do a digital check, which they are continually running. So it's not just every 5 years with the licensure. They're always checking that background. There is one exception to this, and this is our auxiliary employees who are really Lakota employees. And so they do have to do a background check through Lakota, but they do not have to participate in our Virtus program because they're not Mother Teresa employees. So they do go through a background check, like I said, the same licensure and whatever else Lakota might require, but they do not have to participate in the Virtus program through the Archdiocese.
Thank you. Our next question is also for Aideen. What types of shifts have we seen this year as a result of COVID or anything occurring with remote learning and the style and delivery of our education? And how often in a regular school year do teachers implement problem-based learning activities in comparison to the traditional sit and get lecture style?
Okay, that's a pretty broad question. But I'm going to say some of the changes is because of last year and the shutdown where teachers had to work from home. I think all of our teachers are definitely more well-versed with online or remote learning and some of the resources they can use. We do have a handful of students who are continuing with remote learning this year based on a medical exception where they are at extra high risk or one of their family members who lives in their household. And so those teachers are doing, helping those students as well. It's not a full remote while full in person, but it is enhanced from what it would have been in the past. They're more comfortable doing videos or having students attend via their Chromebook virtually. Some of their changes we've had are some students have had to quarantine just for 14 days. And so teachers again have gone the extra mile. They've just been wonderful. Our school faculty in really doing their best to help students wherever they are, whether they're at school or they're at home, preparing work, having individual Google Meets once a week with students who are doing that remote learning to follow up with them. So that I would say has been a change for sure. And one we hope we don't have to continue doing, that we'd like to have all in person. But through doing that, obviously it's been an opportunity to learn about different programs and how to more easily use online resources and incorporating those within our classroom. So that's been beneficial. In terms of hands-on versus lecture, I think there's more hands-on usually in the younger grades. I think we do have some more lecture sometimes in the older grades, but we really try to be careful to incorporate a lot of discussion and a lot of concept sharing, like with graphic organizers, or even when they're doing science, they have a little column where they're drawing pictures to go along with the technical knowledge that they're learning. And so I think the teachers are very aware of using all of the senses of students in trying to educate all of the students. Especially in the sciences, they do a lot of labs. We have 2 dedicated science spaces, 5th and 6th grade, and then the 7th and 8th grade dedicated science space. So I think having those spaces, we use them. And so that's definitely an area where we do a lot of project-based learning. But I would say it's a mix overall.
Amy, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add to that I'm very familiar with project-based learning, and I would say that it's, I want to echo what Aideen said in that in the science classes, I feel like the teachers are really good at doing like really good science investigations, like the science fair projects in the 7th grade. I mean, that is some serious like project-based learning in the true sense, where students are asking questions and investigating and coming up with their own solutions and presenting that what they find. And so in my mind, that's real genuine like project-based learning. I think, you know, you're going to find that at Mother Teresa, there is a mix between like some really creative project type things in the elementary, and then there is that balance with some more traditional teaching. And we always really valued that when we were sending our girls there, that they kind of got both experiences, learning how to like learn for themselves, in addition to like having teachers who were making things exciting and engaging. But I just didn't want the science fair to go without being mentioned, because it's an amazing, amazing thing that they have those junior high kids do.
And one thing to add, and to the top question, which was regards to COVID and remote learning, we did always have access to Chromebooks for every student in 5th through 8th grade. There was a 1-to-1 ratio, and then students in the grades below, there's definitely plenty of Chromebooks for them, but they were on a shared basis, so classrooms would share a grouping of Chromebooks. So while 5th through 8th graders did always have enough for all of them to be working at the same time, this year we've made it where it's more of an ownership agreement with the school. So every student in 5th through 8th grade has a Chromebook that he or she owns and can take home daily for homework, or just over the weekends, whenever, or store it at school if they choose to. And we think that will help us if we have to make a quick turnaround and do a closure again, because all of those students will already be very hands-on with their Chromebooks and have access to the technology that they need. Okay, the next question is for Aideen again, and it is reviewing a typical first grader day. I would think they'd be a little just slightly different than kindergarten. They do not have 2 classrooms per homeroom teacher, but you can address the rest.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Noelle. That's right. It's similar to kindergarten, but it is more structured, and they are in a different wing of the building. So I think with that, they feel like big kids when they leave the kindergarten wing to go in the 1st through 4th grade wing. They're in just one classroom then, but it's a larger classroom. The 2 classrooms in kindergarten are a little bit smaller. They still have their sink, they still have windows, they still have the smart board, they still have a document reader, they still do guided reading, as I said. So all of those things are consistent, but there is definitely greater structure and less free choice time in 1st grade. I still think it's a very nurturing environment, and the students don't just learn reading and math, but they learn how to learn. So I think the teachers are really good at telling them the behaviors and the habits and getting them in those habits starting in 1st grade to become a successful student. And also the social, emotional, and spiritual is underlining everything. That's where we're so lucky to be at a Catholic school, that we can use that to work with our students to feel that they're important, that they are special, that God loves them. And one of the things that we can do is to use our gifts to learn, but also then to share that learning with others.
Thank you. Next question is, do the kindergartners have a pairing up or a buddy system with any of the older kids, just to kind of get them more comfortable to school or feel like they have someone looking out for them? And yes, we do. We're very happy, and we love our kindergarten buddy program. So a kindergartner is paired with an 8th grader, and then our 4th graders get paired with 1st graders. And it is sadly looking a little different this year. My daughter is in 8th grade, and she's never seen her kindergarten buddies face to face. So they're sending notes and drawing pictures and giving them treat bags. But the way the building's set up, they have to stay in separate wings for safety. But normally, the biggest component of the program that I love is the 8th grader will take their kindergarten buddy down to student body mass and sit with them throughout the entire mass. And it's definitely, their opportunity to be good role models for how, these little ones are expected to sit and behave, and what the procedure is at Mother Teresa Mass. So that's a really large component of it. And you'll see that's another great thing about having all K through 8 in one building. When we're not in separate wings like we are now, just walking through the halls, the older ones are always saying hello and giving high fives to the younger ones. I've had, parents tell me that, the older students know their younger student by name and shout out their name and cheer for them at sports, and it just makes their little one feel extra special. So we definitely do have that pairing up system. And also those first couple weeks of school, it can be a little nerve-wracking for a kindergartner to come in and have to figure out where the student center is and where they line up, and then remember from day to day. So we do have obviously a lot of faculty and the older students helping guide them and remind them where the student center is and where they have to go every day, just so those first two couple weeks are, you know, easier for them and not as dramatic. Our next question is, do we administer sacraments? And Mother Teresa is an independent school, so that means that we are not affiliated with a parish, but we do have, as I mentioned before, the masses are celebrated by a rotating group of priests from various parishes throughout the area. Even the Glen Marys come. And so while we have religion class and the students are learning about the sacraments, we do not administer them. You follow your own parish's guidelines. For First Communion, what we do try to do is have a second grade student body mass at Mother Teresa one evening where the kids dress up and they get formal First Communion pictures, and that way they can celebrate as a class because they do come from several different parishes. And then we'll have a small reception afterwards. But other than that, you will have to follow the preparation guidelines at your respective parish. The next question is about after-school care. We do have a wonderful extended daycare program for those who aren't able to either pick up their kids at the 2:20 dismissal time or be home when they come home from the bus. And the typical procedure for that is it's use it as you need it. So if you have one day where you're all of a sudden like, I don't think I can get home from this doctor's appointment in time to pick up my child, you would notify the school and we could arrange for your child's dismissal change to go to latchkey, extended care. We used to call it latchkey. Or you can be a regular user where you're using it every weekday of the year. It's only for Mother Teresa students. It starts immediately at dismissal at 2:20 and goes until 6 p.m. And it's billed hourly. So you'll have, once you're accepted to the school, you'll have a parent portal that has things like communication, newsletters, grades, and billing, and you'll just see your bill for extended care billed to that account. The kids are grouped by grade. So the kindergartners and the first graders are usually together, and then the second and third are usually in another room. We have our own separate staff for extended care, and they follow the same procedures that Aideen had mentioned in terms of background checks. And they, we follow the same state standards for student to teacher ratios in all of the spaces. The first hour of extended care is usually spent on homework. The little ones will not have much of that, but if they have to do their a little book that they have to read or a little math sheet, the staff is there to help them with that. It has to be quiet time for the first hour. And then after that, they do a variety of activities. It's not just sitting in front of the TV. They do try to get them outside or running around in the gym. They were making some kind of Christmas ornament the other day. They organize bake sales for fundraisers. They do a lot of games, a lot of volleyball, tag, Simon Says. So they do keep them very entertained. My son loved going every day. So I can't say enough about our extended care staff. If this COVID situation should continue the way we're doing it this year, is you have to pre-register for the service every week. So it's not just a drop-in, as I mentioned. Hopefully we won't have to worry about that next year, but it is a little different this year. The next question has to do with the sports and athletics teams that we offer, and is it competitive or is it that everyone can participate? So Mother Teresa has track and field for all students in grades K through 8. And we also this year added cheerleading for all students. And then we have boys volleyball and girls volleyball, boys basketball and girls basketball. And that starts in grades 3 and goes through grades 8. And then if you wanted to play tackle football, our boys participate in the Golden Bears program, which is a team that has, it's like a consolidated group of players. So they have, I believe, St. Gabe's, St. Mike's, and maybe one other school that participates on Golden Bears. And for basketball and volleyball, you really don't get evaluated in terms of a tryout until grade 6. So the younger ones are being evaluated, but it's just to spread out the talent. So we have an athletic director and a organized group of boosters, volunteers who arrange for evaluators, objective evaluators to come in and observe the kids for a couple hours one afternoon. And then they will do the team assignments if there is enough demand to make more than one team, just so the talent is spread out evenly. Once they're in 6th grade, those evaluations become more of a tryout for an A, a B, or a C team, should there be that much of a demand. So it does get a little more competitive at that level. Does MTCES do state standardized testing? If so, what is the performance and how do we compare to other schools in the area? So we use the Iowa standardized test, and we do that in spring. I do have in a flyer normally that I would give you at this event in person, but I'd be happy to mail it to you. Our performance as compared to the Archdiocese, the Archdiocesan schools, and typically in all subject areas, our students outshine all of the other Archdiocesan schools by a decent margin. Aideen, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, yeah, we use the Iowa. We don't participate in the state testing that's required at the public schools. The Iowa is our guide. We do it 2 through 7th grade. In 2nd and 5th grade, they do the COGAT and the achievement. And this year in 7th grade, they'll be doing the COGAT and the achievement too. So it'll be 3 different grades where they'll do COGAT and achievement. The other grades, they just do the achievement part of the Iowa. And we definitely analyze those scores, and we use them to help guide our instruction, or in terms of finding where students might be missing some key concepts. We share that information with our teachers and find it very helpful. There's some great ways to really individualize it so that we can look at a trend overall, but we can also pull out individual students who might not be making the growth we would expect and follow up with those particular students.
I just want to add that.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to add that in my opinion, the fact that Mother Teresa didn't give those state tests was a bonus for me, even as a teacher, because I wanted my kids to be challenged, but I didn't want the focus of their learning to be on a test. And I really felt like, you know, after having had my girls at Mother Teresa all that time, that was always true. You know, there wasn't this like, oh, we have to push, we have to prep, we're doing test prep, which I sometimes feel as a public school teacher that I have to do that. But at Mother Teresa, I never felt that. I just felt that they were giving these tests on a yearly basis. Like that was what we did. They took the Iowa test, and then there wasn't pressure associated. It was just used to help the teachers and to help the students kind of grow and get better. And I think that the way that they use those tests has been really successful. And I know that the kids, when they go on to high school, are just totally prepared for the experience they'll have, whether it means like taking that high school placement test or just being ready for high school.
Aideen, can you explain why we have used the Iowa testing versus state standardized testing?
Well, we think the Iowa data is more helpful in connecting with our curriculum. And so we have the graded course of studies that's also developed by the Archdiocese. and the Iowa testing is a better evaluator of that than we consider the state testing to be. We're not looking at the state testing at all when we talk about our curriculum. I don't really want to compare the two because they're two very different things.
Okay. So at this point, I do not see any other questions submitted in the chat area. You can feel free to submit those as I go over some closing next steps that I wanted to share with everyone. If you have not been able to view the videos of our panelists prior to attending tonight, those will stay posted on our website. So the way they're set up is each individual panelist is presented in a chapter. So you can revisit if you want to see the principals again, if you want to see the campus ministers again, you can click and watch each of those individually. And they are housed on our admissions menu of our website, which is mtces.org. It's just a good portion of our website for prospective parents to visit anyway. We do have another question. Do students that graduate but go to public schools ever have trouble with graduation exams?
This is only my second year at Mother Teresa, although it seems like just one long first year because we didn't really have any break, it seemed, this year. But I would say that that hasn't come up, at least in my time there. I feel as though all of the students are very well prepared and don't have a problem when they have chosen to go to public school for high school. We have a couple every year who do make that decision. And at least I haven't heard any parents come back to us and say they weren't prepared. So that's, unfortunately, I only have this 2 years to say. Noelle, have you heard anything from other parents coming back afterwards?
So I've never heard of a parent coming back with that. What I have heard is that a Mother Teresa student has a very excellent reputation with the regional high schools. They always, in terms of admission officers who keep in touch with myself as well as our junior high faculty, comment on how they love getting the Mother Teresa students because they do perform well in school and come in very well prepared. You will notice that there is a bit of a step up in 5th grade in terms of our curriculum, and then again in 7th in order to get the students more independent and organized, and then in 7th and 8th grade prepared for high school. So I'm a parent. I've been through it. My daughter's in 8th grade. I think she's become extremely independent, extremely well organized. And time and time again, the parents that I talk to compliment our junior high team and how well prepared our graduates are.
And just to add, I know Mother Teresa has done a very good job in the past. Like when I was on the Education Commission, we really did track like the data of test scores from at Mother Teresa, like how a class is performing 3rd grade to 4th grade. Like there's a lot of information that's being collected. I've never heard a data point being collected as far as like the kids who went to public school for high school, but I've also never heard of kids not being prepared for high school that have left Mother Teresa. For example, like 8th graders at Mother Teresa have the option for Algebra 1, which I think is definitely preparing them for high school. They can start in high school in the next sequence of math. A lot of the books they use, I noticed just for my own girls, like were a grade level above, like the vocabulary book they were using was a grade level above. So I think in terms of rigor, you're just not going to find a better program to prepare your kids for high school experience wherever they choose to go to high school.
Another question that came in says, are there any sports where Mother Teresa joins with a public school for a single team? I don't believe we have ever done that. I know we have, a lot of Mother Teresa students who want to participate in soccer, for example. but they like to play on the club level. So we've never fielded a soccer team because the demand just for us in the league, the Greater Cincinnati Catholic Youth Sports League, there's never been enough demand among the Archdiocesan schools to have the soccer team. So there are students who are playing club level sports outside of Mother Teresa.
And recreational level too.
Correct.
So they are playing with kids from all different schools, but not one that we've created.
We have a really solid relationship with the Lakota Sports Organization. Bruce Rhodes over there is an administrator over there, and you all might know him. We use a lot of our field space, the Lakota teams will use, and we have a good relationship with them, and several of our kids play through the LSO program with all the kids from our region. And another follow-up is, what are the clubs and non-sport activities that are available? So this is another, there is on our website an extracurriculars menu item to review that will go into more detail about the offerings that we have. We do have scouting programs for both boys and girls. So the boys can start in Cub Scouts, and the girls participate in what's called American Heritage Girls, which is our version of the Girl Scout program. It's Catholic based, and it's also headquartered in Westchester, which is pretty cool. We have community service clubs for the younger students. It's called RAC, which is Random Acts of Kindness Club. And then the older junior high students can participate in Magnified Giving, and both focus on inspiring our students to participate in giving back to their community or doing random acts of kindness for others. The Magnifying Giving program does that obviously a little bit more intense level. We have a Webby dance program for the younger kids after school, and we often have several STEM groups or Bricks for Kids, Legos Kids come for after school meetings. We have a robotics club that is now in its second year of being competitive. It has been around in existence for 3 years, but last year they grew to the size where they were big enough to be competitive, and they did quite well. They were offering that to grades 6 through 8, but if there's more demand, they are considering, I believe, offering 5th through 8th. I'm trying to think. We have a National Junior Honor Society called Beta, which is for junior high students who maintain an A average. And part of their responsibility is to offer cost-free tutoring to the little ones. So once a week, they will stay after school and tutor 1 or 2 buddies whose parents have signed them up for student peer teaching. Anything else I'm missing, Idine?
Student council.
Student council, that's another good one.
There's also student council, which is 4th through 8th grade, although this year it's more limited because they, again, have that harder time of having meetings. And so, but normally it's 4th through 8th grade, and they do a number of things for the school and have leadership positions within student council. Mrs. Austin organizes that. This past year, they were doing a lot of contests to try to build morale while students were studying remotely. So we were doing a contest a month. And so they come up with different ideas to try to help the school and help the students.
And I should have clarified when I mentioned earlier LSO, that stands for the Lakota Sports Organization. So those are the recreational sports that Adine mentioned. Primarily, those who participate are in the Lakota School District area. So it's primarily Lakota students, Lakota School District residents that are participating in those. They have, off the top of my head, I know they have soccer, volleyball, lacrosse, flag football. Cannot remember if they have an indoor soccer offering, but it's baseball, It's very active, and as I said, we have a good partnership with them. They regularly promote their teams amongst our parents with our newsletters. As I said, our field space is used for Lakota sports. Several of our kids play recreationally with that league. So LSO is Lakota Sports Organization, and they do have their own website that is chock full of information on all their programs, if you wanted to check that out. I'll go back to our next steps because the chat box is complete, I believe, right now. I did want to remind everyone, as I mentioned, that registration for next year, if you're interested in joining us for next fall, will begin on January 31st. And typically what we do is we kick off registration week or registration month with an open house event. We're still trying to determine the logistics of what that's going to look like. The highlight of that day was on a Sunday afternoon. You would come to the school and meet our faculty, but participate in a student-led tour. And our junior high students do an excellent job of leading you and your little ones through the building to meet the faculty and learn about our offerings. I don't think we can do it that way with, we're trying to keep our students obviously exposed to those only in their cohorts. But we will find a way to carry out an open house experience on January 31st. Beginning on that day, you can hand in your registration paperwork, which will be posted on our website, or I can mail to you if you'd be interested in receiving that. And then you can enroll in open enrollment through February 26th. As I mentioned, myself or anyone in the front office would be happy to answer any other questions you have about the enrollment process. You can look, if you're curious, at the current application for this year just to see what is involved in filling that paperwork out. It's always on our website and it does not change much from year to year. For kindergartners, just like any other kindergartner in the state, you would have to participate in a screening session. So after you submitted your paperwork, everyone would receive confirmation that we received it or a note on what forms were missing, and then someone would get back to you about scheduling a date for the kindergarten screening. If you are transferring in from another school in grades 1 through 8, there's just a couple other parts of the process that we've added. We would like the paperwork or records from any prior educational institution sent to us. And then the student, as well as any of the parents or guardians, can participate in an interview with our administration, just so that we can make sure everyone has similar expectations and that it's the best fit for your family. In the junior high level, oftentimes those interviews will take place with, we've tried to get the whole junior high team involved, or at least a portion of them representing, in addition to our administration meeting with you. Aideen, what does it typically look like for the younger students? Like if a first grader was coming in, how would that go?
Yeah, the first grader is usually, I'll try to do the tour with them so I can take the family and the student around and I get an idea just by that conversation, just by interacting. And then I bring them into my office at the end and we probably talk for 10 or 15 minutes again, just trying to answer questions, trying to be completely transparent so that expectations are on both sides are expressed, and so that things will go well if they're going to make a transition to Mother Teresa. We also try to alleviate any concerns they might have about, specifically, usually it's about having religion if they hadn't had religion before. So we go over a little more detail about what religion is like in the different grades. And the other thing I want to say about the open house on the 31st is that we are planning on doing an in-person open house on the 31st, but we do not think we'll be able to have our junior high team lead the tours. And so we're looking at trying to separate that into different grades, maybe kindergarten and first for a certain amount of time, and then anyone after another time period. We also do electrostatic spraying at the school twice a week. And so we usually do that on Sundays. And so that's what makes me feel more comfortable about doing an in-person open house, is that we would do that spraying over the whole building after we had the open house that night, so that the students wouldn't come back into the school until the school had been sanitized.
We will, as I mentioned, we have our current year registration paperwork posted to the website. On January 29th, that will turn over to next year's enrollment paperwork. So we always post 2 days before the open house the upcoming year's paperwork, and then that will remain on then after. You can bring it to open house, you can fax that into us, you can mail it into us, or you can drop that off during school hours. So you do not have to come to open house during that couple hour window and turn it in. There's flexibility there. So just please keep your eye on our website. The other thing that you can do on our website is schedule a visit, or you can call me, whatever is easier. But we are doing tours of the building. If you're looking for more of a one-on-one tour, just a tour where it's your family and myself or a dean, we have to do those after dismissal in order to wait for the students to leave the building. So that for us would start at 2:45, and then we have a window until about 4:45 where we'd be doing those every weekday. So by clicking on the schedule a visit button, you can type in your top 3 choices for availability, and those go immediately to my email inbox. And then I will get back with you and try to schedule something that's convenient for everyone. All visitors have to wear masks and practice physical distancing when they're in the building. If you do have any other questions, all of my contact information is on the slides that I presented in the introductional panelist video, and it is on the website as well. We had another follow-up question come in about the interview. The interview is done with parents and students. And the interview can be done before January 31st if you're interested and know that you feel pretty strongly about coming into to Mother Teresa next year. You would not have to wait until open house. That's another thing where I will work with Aideen and her calendar and set up something that's convenient for you. But we do like both the parent or guardian and the student to be available for that. So, were you going to add something?
I was just going to say, we had to do some of them over the phone this past spring.
That's true.
Where I did talk to the student, and obviously there's more to it the older the student is, right? And so as you said, if we get up to junior high, we usually try to include the junior high team, so that, again, just to be very transparent about our expectations and what you're looking for. Thanks.
I wanted to share my appreciation for everyone joining us tonight. Because you registered for this event, your email address will be added to our enrollment distribution list. So any of our upcoming information or events that are enrollment related, you'll be added to that email list. If you would like your name removed from that, just let me know. So you should always be in the loop about any information coming up with the decisions we make regarding open house. And it looks like Aideen's trying to say something else. No?
I just saw a chat, I'm not sure. Someone said, did the kindergartners get interviewed? And no, the kindergartners don't interview. They do a screening with the teacher just to make sure that they're prepared. So it's just the older grades. We want to just make sure that things are going to go well. We want it to be successful for all involved.
So thanks to our panel. Thank all of you for joining us tonight. Do not hesitate to call us with questions and let us know how we can help you along your journey to select the best school for your family. Thanks again and have a good night.